my lovely peaches. Hello, sweet peaches. How are you? Welcome to my afternoon live. This morning I jumped on a spontaneous live because I was just kind of in the mood to chat, and then I was thinking a lot about that chat, and I was thinking about the way it took a turn, and I was thinking about how I wanted to respond, because I did want to respond. And there were a lot of people in that chat who were trying, whoops, oh, look, my little rainbow fell. So there were many people in that chat who were essentially saying, what proof do you have, or what evidence is there that Charlie Kirk was racist? And I refuse to answer that question, because I feel that if you understand what racism is and you understand racism, you would never ask that question. So what this video is going to be is I am going to be reading some research that I put together since hold on, maybe I can lower this a little bit. Since this morning's chat, maybe that's actually better. And I am going to, so this stream, the description is in the description. So if you pop on and you say, what's this about? You can read it in the description. I am not going to really be answering questions until the end of the stream. Maybe if I see a relevant question pop up, I'll stop and I'll answer it. But the purpose of this stream is for me to explain the things that I researched this afternoon, points that I was trying to make in this morning stream. But because that was a spontaneous jump, I jumped on a live, and then it took a turn, a path I wasn't expecting. And so this stream is basically a response where I'm going to read some points that I put together, and then if there's any relevant questions, then I can answer them at the end. However, I do have to leave in about an hour, and then in about half an hour or 20 minutes, I have to go downstairs and do my laundry, but I can just maybe take you with me. But so you can make comments and stuff. However, if they're rude, I will delete them. So hello in advance to everybody. In order for me to be able to get through this stream and say the things that I want to say, I'm going to say a big hello to everybody who's joined. If you have any relevant questions, you can ask them. I think this stream is monetized. If you want to do a super chat, then at the end I can read them. However, the point of this stream is for me to read the things that I put together that I want to say in a video. And then this video is going to be for your information, or for if you want to share this with somebody in your life because you think that this information would be relevant to them. However, my perspective is that if somebody is truly a racist person, whether they're racist, misogynistic, xenophobic, transphobic, homophobic, can they change their mind? They could, but they have to be willing. And maybe the more people they get out and meet, maybe the more they get away from their bubble, they would come to that on their own. One thing that I do mention in this, so I have a long thing that I wrote. I'm going to try to read as much of it as I can. But there are people who grow up in deeply racist families, and yet they learn not to be racist because something inside of them inherently knows that it's wrong. And then there can be people who were raised in families that recognize how wrong that is, but then decide to somehow they become racist. So what I'm going to do in this video is, hold on, I need to come up with like a please hold screen. Oh, wow. Because when I need to say please hold, I have to have something up, because I need to So I'm going to be reading some things, and then I'm going to be doing other things. So now I'm pulling up the thing that I wrote. So I'm going to be looking over here reading, okay? So the bullet point of what this live stream is about. The definition of racism, which is discrimination based on perceived racial superiority. The definition of systemic racism, which was created to justify societal and financial benefit to the lower melanated people at the expense of people who have more melanin. Essentially, whiteness is not real. It's a social construct that was created for the furtherment of the concept of racism, which is now real and does systemically harm millions of people every single day. So I'm going to discuss an explanation of whiteness, which is a political and economic category used for certain kind of people to profit from the ignorance and the hate. How certain people like Candace Owens and Clarence Thomas are used by racist groups to further their harmful agendas. And I'm going to go over here. So I'm bouncing around because my computer is blocked by my cell phone. So I will pause for a moment to, for the health of my channel. This place is a place it's a safe place. So I should read the description and the a little bit more about the stream. So it's in the beginning of the stream. You can rewind or you can go read it in the description. So this live stream is about racism and systemic oppression and the social construct of whiteness that many people benefit from and then deny exists. Why race is a constructed idea rooted in false sciences, so-called sciences like eugenics, and that whiteness was created as a tool for power and profit. And if you don't recognize that, you're part of the problem. And at the end, there will be I'll answer some questions if I believe that they are useful. All right. That's right. White people should talk about racism because it's so important. So important. All right. So if you like to be banned, I'm happy to ban you. I love banning people who want to be banned. Okay, so I'm going to jump. So I'm not going to really be engaging with the chat that much, except to delete people who are really only here to be disruptive or who really are like part of the problem. So I do anticipate there's going to be some annoying comments, and that's kind of what drove me to create this stream, because I popped on so I could discuss other things. I'm sure, next time I want to discuss something like maybe Wendy Adelson hopefully getting arrested, I will just be more intentional and speak about what I want to speak about, and then just remove the obviously disruptive people who really only want to, cause harm and disruption. So the reason why, hold on. So I have to try not to get distracted by it. Okay, so back to, also this is being shared with the knowledge that people who are racist do not come to live streams like this to engage in healthy discussion or engagement. And certain people have certain ways of thinking that can't be changed and won't be changed because they're not willing, and nor are they looking to change. There's a special type of very bad kind of entitlement, like I'm better than you type of belief system that unfortunately many people have. And unfortunately, the majority of those people do tend to be the lower melanated folk. And people who like know inherently that they're not somehow better than other people just because of how much melanin they have, even if they're raised in racist families, they can learn to not be racist because they just know. They just know better than that. But it's people who benefit from the systemic racism of other people that refuse to acknowledge it, and then they come on a live stream like this one and they want to try to, they want to be, again, like I said, disruptive, say hateful things. They think somehow that, that, I don't know, it's really weird that people, no, I guess it's not weird. The people, hello, Julio, the people who love to hate and who benefit from this type of way of thinking, they also hate people like me who I could benefit from it, and I could pretend like it doesn't exist, and I could just, be white passing, even though I am technically what would be considered white because of how much melanin I have, because of many things about my personality, the way I was raised, the way I look at the world, the way I look at people. I am one of those people who I never fell for the bullshit story. And many, many, many low melanated people, they do fall for it because they are mediocre, because they have hate in their heart, because they somehow believe that they just are better than other people. Whatever it is, whatever the reason is, that's what I'm saying. You can be brainwashed as a child and told you're chosen, you're better than them, or whatever the case is, and you can just know that that's not correct. But many people don't choose to see that way because they just, they benefit from it, and it's like they benefit but they're blind. So they just, and then they'll say something like, so there's only one idea and everything else is wrong? Well, if your idea is that other people are inherently less than you because of how much melanin they have, or what religion they practice, or what genitals they have, or how they choose to show up, like how they choose to identify in society, or who they choose to love, then that's not just a different idea. That's pure racism and bigotry, and people do need to talk about it. People do need to learn about it. And those who, I am vegan. I've been vegan for 17 years. So, yeah, do a late night ramblings. I'm going to assume you're not talking about me because I'm been vegan. Hey, lobster. And peep, peep, hola. So, it's not my job to make people who are racist feel at home. And that includes xenophobic people, homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic people. It's not my job to make a safe space for you. It's not my job to create a space that acknowledges that I think, not acknowledge, that like where you want me to acknowledge that the way that you live in this world is somehow valid, or that it deserves the space to be heard on an equal level. But cruelty and evil and stupidity that's wrapped up in the profit to hurt other people, they don't deserve a space, at least not here. Unfortunately, the problem is that a lot of people who benefit from systemic racism, they attack people like me who call it out. They refuse to acknowledge it because either they're just so wrapped up in the belief that it's not real, like they benefit but they won't acknowledge it, or they do see it but they just believe in it. And my job here isn't to change those people's minds, not to welcome them, not to reply to them, not to make a safe space for them, and also not to get distracted by them. So let me continue, okay? So what is racism? Racism is discrimination or prejudice, which is based on the belief that some people are inherently superior to others, whether it's based on the color of that person's skin, meaning how much melanin they have, their hair, their eye color, what country they were born in, what languages they speak, what religion they practice or were born into, and sometimes your genitals. People will judge you based on that. They'll judge you on who you love. They might judge you on your height or your weight. They might judge you for your body hair or your facial hair. They might judge you based on what kind of head coverings you choose to wear or not. They might judge you based on how much makeup you wear or not wear. I'm lighting an incense, by the way. I will show you. Jambrana incense. Thank you for the floating heart, I think. So there's all kinds of ways that people can find to be prejudiced, meaning they judge you before they know you. They think certain things about you, which are most likely not true. They could be stereotypes. They could just be hateful things. It's just, there's all kinds of ways that people have racist, prejudicial beliefs, sexist, misogynistic, all the things. But ultimately it stems from believing that you yourself are better because of how much melanin you have or don't have, because of the color of your eyes or your hair texture, or maybe because of how you choose to wear your hair or to cover your hair, or what God you believe in, what religion you follow, whether you have a, this or that kind of genital. There's a lot of ignorance around gender and transgender and biology. Many people ignorantly and falsely believe that there's only two genders, meaning you can only be born with one or the other kind of set of genitals. And hello from India. And that is a denial of the existence of intersex people and a whole entire realm of human beings that are born that don't, fall within the strict confines of what certain other people believe is true. Okay, that's my go downstairs. Hold on. I have to do laundry because today is a party for someone I care about. All right, I'm just going to take you downstairs because I want to just keep the live going, but I got to get my chores done. So let's go while I put my clothes in the dryer. It's 1:57 p.m. So, thank you for being here, Penelope. And appreciate you joining. Going down. The basement is pretty grungy. Don't forget to hit like, hit share, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification so you never miss out. I have been going live a little bit more lately than I ever thought I would because, I don't know, it's just been I'm so busy doing other stuff for my clients. So I'm just taking a quick break to do my laundry. So anybody who's just joining, I've been talking about what racism is. So race isn't really real. I mean, at this point, it's real in the fact that it's a reality, and you know, we can't escape the fact that many people are harmed by this social construct, and many people benefit from it to the harm of others. Many people who are so-called white, pale-skinned people, and they're not wealthy, and those are the worst offenders sometimes, perpetrating the idea that it's not a real thing because they think that they don't benefit from it because they're poor and or uneducated and or they've been abused. But that doesn't mean the system isn't racist. It doesn't mean that it's not set up to harm certain people and benefit others. I'm talking quietly because I have downstairs neighbors. Okay, back to it. Actually, I could really use a sip of water. Whew. Thanks, guys, for joining. I'm trying to, I don't think there's any way I'm going to get through that whole document. Let's see, how long have I been on? Okay, so that's another, oh, did I seriously leave my, you know what I just did, my guys? Damn, I just left my phone holder downstairs. Wow. Okay, I know I have a second one. What did I do with it? Oh, I know, it's in the kitchen. All right, well, you have to come with me. I'll get the second phone holder from the basement after I hang this up. I have this one here, which is also nice. So, all right, let me drink a sip. 1 sec. All right, back to it. That was just a little break. I thought it would be a little bit more interesting for the stream to just take you with me for my little laundry break than to just hit mute and, you know, put the notebook in front. It's not as interesting, so a little distraction while I get some chores done. Now I'm back at my desk. And thank you for joining. As I've said in the beginning of the stream, if you want to know what this is about, you can read the description. All right, back to my notes over here where I'm going to read. So systemic racism. What is systemic racism? Systemic racism is, yeah, there's a problem with the caste system. I don't think you're done with the caste system. Systemic racism. See, I keep trying to open it and then I have to pop that off. So I have to, my browser's popping in front of the document that I'm reading. Okay. Oh, here's this loser who came back from before. Okay. So, you know, it's kind of, well, so I was looking up, like, is it better for the health of my channel if I remove people who are saying, you know, things, or things that I feel that are unhealthy? Or is it better to leave them there? And it said it's actually much better to remove them because, hello Naveen, because, so let me go to that part of my document. So the difference, okay, so censorship and free speech versus keeping my channel a safe space. Censorship is when government or authority prohibits or suppresses speech, ideas, or information in public spaces and in media. And it could be in school and stuff. It's about limiting access to information or stifling dissent in a large official scale. Not a little YouTuber saying this is a safe space for LGBTQ plus, but it's not a safe space for racists, misogynistics, transphobics, all that. And that's my right to do. Free speech is your right to express your ideas and your opinions without the government interference or punishment. And in the US, it protects people from being silenced by the government, not private individuals on a private platform. So ignorant people who come on my channel and think that because I'm deleting racist or misogynistic, or sometimes people saying inappropriate, unwanted sexual things, or I just feel uncomfortable about what they're saying, then, that's my right to do. And this is a live stream. The purpose of this live stream is for me to talk, and I am doing that. Okay, so whiteness is a social construct which emerged during the colonial era, particularly in the 17th century within British North America. It was developed as a legal, social, and political tool to manage enslaved people, to keep control over them, and to maintain a rigid social hierarchy where they kept education and human rights and civil rights away from the highly melanated people that they enslaved to use as their free labor. And the mentality of people like that, unfortunately, still exists in this place. And it exists elsewhere in the world as well. But unfortunately, it's rampant. And this entire country was started off by genocide. That's another really sad thing, is that when you mention the Holocaust, people speak as if that's the worst genocide that ever existed in the world. But the genocide against the Native Americans was unbelievably, like 10 times, like you can't even do the math about how much worse it was. But they don't talk about it in that same way, because the history that many Americans are taught is propaganda to make the white people seem like the heroes and the good guys and the patriots and the Americans, and at the expense of everyone else. And then they get on live streams like this and they say really gross stuff because they are just mediocre at best, trying to compete in a world where the rest of the world is always doing their best because they have to, because they want to, because they're wired that way, and because they don't believe that they are better than other people simply because of how much melanin they have or don't have. So whiteness is not actually a biological category, but it was a socially and legally engineered concept so that in the early 1600s in colonial Virginia, their economy relied heavily on tobacco cultivation, which required a massive labor force. This labor was provided by a mix of enslaved Africans who were increasingly stolen and imported, and indentured servants who were often poor Europeans. The harsh working conditions and lack of social mobility led to growing solidarity and unified resistance between those two groups, most notably in Bacon's Rebellion of 1676. This rebellion, in which both poor, so-called white, and black laborers fought together against the colonial government, exposed the fragility of the ruling class's control. In response to this threat, colonial legislatures, let's see, put you on a timeout. Colonial legislatures, made me lose my, began to codify and legally entrench a racial hierarchy. Legislation was passed to create and enforce a distinction between so-called white and so-called non-white people, effectively creating systemic racism, effectively granting rights and statuses to some people, and the removal of rights and status from others. For instance, the Virginia slave codes of 1705 institutionalized the legal inferiority of Africans and their descendants by defining them as property, chattel, and stripping them of rights. At the same time, laws were enacted to grant small but significant privileges to poor Europeans, such as the right to own firearms and exemptions from certain taxes. This deliberate strategy created a new social class of quote unquote white people. We'll take a quick note. Okay. And those people, those descendants of those people are still rampant today. So they created what was started to be called race, and the color of your skin started to become defined as your race. What I'm reading is some research that I put together earlier today, and then racial privileges created a wedge between the poor European laborers and the enslaved Africans. This framework, this legal framework, was not merely descriptive, but it was performative, actively constructing a racial identity that did not previously exist. And that is when whiteness became a thing that certain people started to cling to, and they wanted to benefit from this so-called racial disparity because it benefited them. And all of our laws, all of our systems, all of our schooling and our education, and literally everything has been growing out of the seed of those things. And it's spread, and its economic function. The constructed identity of whiteness was a powerful mechanism for controlling the labor force and protecting the elite wealth. By offering poor Europeans a separate, albeit low, social standing and legal protections, the ruling class successfully incentivized them to identify with their white superiors rather than with their so-called black counterparts. This alignment discouraged future interracial alliances and uprisings, ensuring a stable and exploitable labor force and labor supply for plantation agriculture. So this strategic division was highly profitable. It ensured a constant supply of cheap enslaved labor while also co-opting poor whites into a system that maintained racial and economic inequality. By embedding racial hierarchies into laws, labor policies, and social norms, the elite created a self-perpetuating system where whiteness became a de facto prerequisite for full citizenship and economic opportunity. This provided a seemingly natural justification for the exploitation of non-white people and the concentration of wealth and power in hands of a few. W.E. Du Bois termed psychological wage The system was designed to create what sociologist W.E.B. Du Bois, termed psychological wage, a feeling of superiority and a set of social and legal privileges that compensated poor whites for their low economic status. This wage fostered a sense of loyalty to the racial hierarchy even when it was not in their own economic best interest. And that's why there are so many people who are low melanated, but they still benefit from it, and they refuse to acknowledge it because I guess it just makes them feel better. So here we come to the pseudoscientific justifications. The social and legal construction of whiteness was later supported and propagated through the development of pseudoscience theories of racial superiority. In the 18th and 19th century, intellectuals, so-called intellectuals and so-called scientists, often motivated by political and economic interests, developed elaborate racial classification systems, just removing some abusive people for the hell. So just know that this channel is a safe space for LGBTQ plus and not psychos. These systems, such as craniometry and eugenics, falsely claim to demonstrate inherent differences as a natural hierarchy among human races. These narratives of racial superiority were used to rationalize and justify the atrocities of slavery, colonialism, and westward expansion. And many of you ignorant people still believe those false ideas today. And these ideas were not just abstract concepts, they were integral into the functioning of the American state. For example, laws such as the Naturalization Act of 1790 limited U.S. citizens to so-called free, so-called white persons, effectively codifying a link between whiteness and belonging. And that those people still live here today and believe that this country is only for them because it's so brainwashed into their mind for the last 200 years, but it's based on lies. And anyone who has, decency inside of them knows that that is false. But unfortunately, many low melanated people, they don't have enough decency to see it. They benefit from it, and they love that they benefit from it. Okay? And it's unfortunate. And many people, you live with someone, if you're friends with someone who's racist or misogynistic or xenophobic or transphobic, you are condoning that behavior, and you are saying it's okay. When you say it's just a different opinion, you are normalizing the harm to millions of people. And so you're part of the problem. See you later. Pragadish Digital. Have a great day. Okay. Support free speech. All right. So that was my notes. So if anybody had any questions, I could answer your questions. However, that's right. I wanted to say, there was some more stuff to read. Okay. The concept of race. Hold on. Let me go. There was some more. Okay. The problem with I don't see color. Why people who say, I don't see color, why that's actually part of the problem. It's often intended to convey a sense of lack of prejudice. However, this phrase is harmful because it actively denies the lived realities of people of color. And when a person claims not to see color, they are ignoring a core part of someone's identity. Let's see, I can turn this around maybe and show you a little bit of what I'm reading. It's kind of hard to see it. Ignoring a core part of someone's identity. So again, while it's a social construct, people do have to live in this society. You can't really see it that well. They have to live in this society that does actually believe that, not just believe, but it's systemically a part of the law, the hiring process, everything. Okay? So denying that the existence of systemic racism is, you're also saying you can't see the racial disparities that exist in society, such as those in the wealth, health, or justice. All right, I'm going to turn it back around because you really can't see, but this is something to put together. And it places a burden on people of color that you expect that they're supposed to pretend that these things don't exist, and when they do exist, you're like, oh, you're playing a victim, boo-hoo-hoo. But the reality is that these things have been baked into society, into the laws, into the justice system, into the work system since the beginning of this country. And to expect that people can just somehow exist as if it didn't exist is an additional burden that you're putting on them. The concept of race is a great example of what sociologists call a social construct, which is that it doesn't exist in a natural objective sense, but is given meaning and power by society. So again, just because you can see the differences of how much melanin somebody has or not, the idea that that means anything other than how much melanin they have or not is what is inherently part of racism. And the belief that just because you can see it, it means something, it has some value, or it has some lower value, that is part of the problem. Society determined that how much melanin you have or not has a social construct. Thank you, unhealthy. So yes, you can see it, just like you can often see whether somebody, you can see somebody's genitals. At least you can't see their genitals, I didn't mean to say that, but you can see whether they have breasts or not. You can see whether or not they look like what you think based on your social construct, based on your idea, based on what you were told, based on what you think is normal or right or wrong. You think, oh, I can tell that that guy is a guy, that girl is a girl. And then when somebody doesn't fall within that, how you respond to it, that determines whether or not you are homophobic, transphobic. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you see somebody who looks somehow not easily defined, or you feel like they shouldn't look that way, and you think that you have any right to comment on that, or to have any say or legal right to dictate anything in their life, that is what, why I'm saying you're racist or homophobic or transphobic. Okay, so let's remove the disruption and the people who are here just to cause, just to prove that they are ignorant and hateful. So, I guess I can just say when people make certain comments, all you're doing is letting me know that you're ignorant and you're hateful. Hi, Stephen Shem. So, make sure I delete the right. So it's never, right. It's not my job to make racists feel at home, welcome, or cozy, because you ain't not welcome or cozy here. You're not welcome here. Okay. So I read a lot of what I was here to talk about, and I will just delete a few people. So I was looking forward to seeing some helpful, interesting comments. Stephen, Thank you so much. You know, unsurprisingly, there's a lot of people who are ignorant and hateful, and they don't have anything better to do than to hop on somebody's live just to promote their hateful ways. So, that was what I wanted to share. And thank you for joining. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. And I think that I have said what I needed to say. I just wanted to delete a few people so that I can. Erica, you can see your way out. Okay. I made it clear in the beginning of the stream that I was here to. Thank you for subbing. They are very annoying. You know, I wasn't here to read people's comments, and I made it clear that if you say rude comments, or you're just ignorant, or you're just here to be disruptive, that I would not read your comment and that I would delete you. So the concept versus the reality. While scientists can look at DNA and tell you that there is no genetic basis for distinct human races, a person of color can tell you that their race is a reality that they live with every day. And the systems that were built, segregation, housing discrimination, biased policing, are based on the idea of race. So they're very much real. And a white person might not see race in the same way because the system was designed to benefit them, making it invisible if they so choose to ignore it. A person of color can't ignore it because it directly impacts their opportunities, safety, and daily life every single day. Okay, it is okay to be trans or to be whatever you are. Weaponizing melanin. The amount of pigment in a person's skin, which is an evolutionary adaptation to sunlight, some people say, was used as a defining characteristic for racial hierarchy. And those with more melanin were deemed inferior and are treated often as if they are in some way inferior. And they can be treated as property, they can be denied rights and subjected to violence, and they are every day. And those with less melanin were given power, privilege, and protection under the law. This is not a natural process, nor is it a natural reaction to what's real. It's a deliberate legal and social strategy. For example, the one-drop rule was a way to allow the unmelanated people to enslave as many people as they could possibly. And they would grape without the G, and they would breed. I mean, the horrific truths of what actually happened was truly, hold on, let me go over here, never taught in schools, never taught because it's shameful, it's embarrassing, it's humiliating, and the fact is that the people who are writing those textbooks don't want it to be taught, because it's hard to continue to perpetuate those false ideas when you tell the truth about it. And that's what they want to do. They want to continue to perpetuate those harmful myths because it benefits them. And unfortunately, we can see that those people who created those myths, they're still in power. And I do believe that there was some serious funny business going on. Hold on, let me change. I'm going to change the settings if I can. One sec, you guys. Let me see if I can change the settings. stream here. Do, 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 do. No, hold on. Let me see. I'm trying to change the settings for 1 second on this video. One moment. I'm just trying to see comments. Okay, let's see if I could do that. I was trying to see, so there was some place where you can, let me see if I can do it on my stream. Let me see, you guys, if there's a way I can change. Let's see, it's 2:30. I'm gonna have to get going soon anyhow. I guess I can end the stream, to be honest. Let me see. Well, there's a way where you can make it subscriber only. I was trying to see if I could make the comments subscriber only because I just started to get really tired of the, let me see if there's a way. If there's a way where I can, I don't know if I can change the setting during the stream. So I'm getting distracted because I'm trying to be able to change it to subscribers only. I'm not sure if I can do that in the middle of the live stream. Let me see. So let me see if I can figure out how to do it. Channel. Da, 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 da. Can you ask a question? Sure, go ahead, ask a question. Lou, if you have a question to ask and it's not offensive, then you can ask while I try to figure this out. Close. Well, I don't know. I'll have to, maybe next time I do a live, I'll just make it so that that's the settings before I go on. All right, go ahead, Lou. I'm waiting for your question. Hi, Mateo B. Hi, David Marshall. All right, so I'm gonna remove you. I'll just give you, okay. Hold on, let's see. I'm reading your comment to myself. I don't care what, I mean, okay. Boo-hoo for you. I mean, so you think it's okay for certain LGBT to not include other people? This is intersex in the middle here. It's trans, it's for everybody. Thank you, Unhealthy. So, you know, I mean, you know, unfortunately, people who are part of the LGBTQ plus community can also be racist or any of those things, you know, just because, I mean, hello, look at the Republican Party. More than half of the Republican Party is like self-hating gay people. That's why, you know, when there's a Republican convention or even at the Charlie Kirk rally, MAGA rally, they what do you call it? They brought Grindr to a grinding halt. Let's see if I could figure out, you know, and it would be somebody, like, it's always somebody who comes up and says, oh, you know, I know somebody who, and then just tries to spread more hate. Like, get out of here. That's so ridiculous. So let me see. I'm trying to see if I can. There's a way. Well, anyway, I'm basically done with this video. I said most of what I wanted to say. Let me see if there's anything else that I didn't get to. What's going on with my mouse? Like, it doesn't want to work sometimes, and it's not that old. So hold on. So I'm gonna just get rid of creeps, get rid of you. Okay, let me go back to my document and see if there's anything else. Let's see, I've been on for, actually, it'll be an hour. Okay. People of color cannot simply ignore race. While a so-called white person might feel like they don't see color, a person of color, a person who has, more melanin, they know that in every day they're policed, how they're treated in stores, how they're represented in media, how the laws are built around them to harm them, to keep them down. They can't ignore it. So if you can ignore it, then it means that you're benefiting from it, and that means that you're part of the problem. So while I might be benefiting from the system because of the lack of melanin that I have, I can also try to do helpful things like make a video like this, teaching other people about the truth, and also making sure it's a safe space for people who I want to make a safe space for, and making sure that it's not a safe space for those who I think are part of the problem. I did used to have a nose ring, but I felt like it was kind of annoying, so I got rid of it. So pretending to not see color is a form of active denial, and it's a way that a person avoids confronting the realities of systemic racism and the advantages that they have because of their skin color. And this perspective is often rooted in a desire to feel like you're a good person and you're not racist, but it actually perpetuates the problem by rendering it invisible. And that's why color blindness, so-called color blindness, is a core tenet of systemic racism. So racism is discrimination or prejudice based on the belief that some people, certain, more melanated people are inherently inferior to others, while less melanated people are superior. It shows up in personal actions, language, behaviors that target people because of their perceived race. Systemic racism refers to laws and policies and institutions, societal structures, even the education system, the medical system, the mental health care system, all of these social places. Okay, thank you, Kat, I guess. Unsolicited affection. I appreciate you being kind, but keep it within some boundary. So these structures consistently advantage certain groups, so-called white people, and disadvantage other people of color, religions, LGBTQ plus people. And it's regardless of your personal feelings or intentions, whether or not whether you see it or acknowledge it or believe in it, that does not change it. So let's see if there's any helpful comments. And correct. I painted that So race is not a biological truth. It's an idea created by people to categorize and rank groups, and usually always to justify their unfair treatment and exploitation. In history, people who wanted to maintain power and control, those with less melanin, were labeled as white and invented race-based theories. They sought to claim scientific legitimacy, leading to the creation of eugenics, a fake science used to justify discrimination, forced sterilization, violence, harm, and torture. Hi, Jamie Burlington. I'm from the East Coast of the USA. So-called whiteness itself was used as a political and economic category. Powerful people profited by defining white as the default, supposedly superior status, turning skin color into a tool for dominance and financial gain. Hello, dear. You're in New Jersey? Do you own the Burlington Coat Factory? Certain people like Candace Owens and Clarence Thomas, they actually profit off of the system of race, and then they become like certain groups and racists will promote those outspoken, celebrate them, like how Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens were like best friends. The county, Burlington, and those people get promoted by those racist groups because they love to have someone who they can exploit in that fashion to promote their hateful way. All right, I'm going to delete some spam. Okay. So this is a manipulative strategy. It serves several purposes. It helps these groups deflect accusations of bigotry by pointing to the few prominent people who seemingly agree with them. Second, it helps maintain division and confusion within the oppressed communities by elevating voices that argue against their own group's interests. And individuals like Owens and Thomas sometimes ally with those who oppress their communities because they believe that this alliance will grant them protection, status, or power. Similar to how a person being bullied might side with their bully for safety or advantage, hoping it will mitigate personal harm or improve their situation. Ultimately, the celebration of such figures by hateful groups is a sick and cynical tactic, and it exploits the complex realities of survival and power within the oppressive systems while simultaneously using these few individuals as tools to perpetrate racism and division. This dynamic underscores how oppression can manipulate even those it targets to serve its own harmful ends. Jamie, hold on. All right, so as I said, I actively remove people who I feel are just here to be disruptive and who are not. I need to watch both. Oh, okay. I thought you were being helpful. So if I were here for just clicks or likes or views, then I wouldn't remove people, because when you remove people, you get less views. When you remove people, you have less engagement and less comments. And if I put it together, do I comprehend what I put together? Yeah. So, if I was really only here to get, subscribers and users and clicks and likes, then I wouldn't be actively removing people who I feel are disruptive and just hateful and just trying to cause harm and division and derision. And they, really just are part of the problem. There are people who, I feel like it's so important to be one of the less melanated kind of people who say, this space, my space, is not a safe space for you. You're not welcome here. You have way too many safe spaces, unfortunately. And now, because of the horrible, evil felon that is in the White House and his group of crooks. This rampant racism is just becoming even worse. They're turning the clock backwards. The corrupt Supreme Court, they're supreme in one thing, being absolute. They're the fucking KKK, the supreme KKK. That is what we have. And talking about my right to moderate my own space. So it's not my job or anyone's responsibility to accommodate individuals who choose racism, xenophobia, homophobia, transphobia, or misogyny. Protecting my space and my audience means that I have every right to block anyone whose comments are contributing to the harm. And yes, free Palestine, thank you. Okay, and if you are here just to spread additional hate or to try to insult me or to talk about, you know, how big you think my things are, or whatever it is, to just be racist or misogynistic, then it's 100%, not only is it my right, but it is my duty to make this a safe space for the people that I feel I want here. My vibe attracts my tribe, and my tribe does not include a safe space for those people. And when you make a safe space for people and you exclude racists, xenophobes, misogynists, the only people who get mad about it are those people. Only a racist is mad that I'm saying no racists are welcome here. Only a misogynistic person is mad that I'm blocking your comments. Removing someone from my private live stream and comment section is not censorship. I'm curating my own space, which I'm allowed and encouraged to do. I encourage everyone who realizes that if you make a comment, you'll be blocked. Recognize that you're racist or transphobic. You've seen, I haven't blocked any comments from people that are kind, that are welcoming, that are considerate, that are, the thing is, again, it's not just an opinion. When you say, oh, you don't like different opinions, if you think it's a different opinion that you want to subjugate other people and harm other people, then I can't discuss with you, because your beliefs are so harmful that is just, unless you're willing to recognize that the things that you're saying are harmful and hateful and hurt millions of people, until you're willing to see that and start to change your behavior and the way you speak to people and the way you speak about people and the way you think about people, if you're not willing to do that, then I'm not here to try to change you. Just like it's not my job to tell people to go vegan. I mean, I can tell you, I can invite you, come vegan. I'm vegan. I've been vegan all these years, 17 years. Healed so many medical issues, been so much healthier. And every single day I'm vegan, I hear something that just makes me happy I'm vegan. Because of all the bad shit out there. And all the reasons to be vegan. But early in my journey of becoming vegan, thank you, Philippe, for saying I'm welcome in Europe. No, I'm not a doctor. Yeah, you're right. We are all one human being, not white, not black, not Muslim, not Christian. Keep going. You love my room, Chansey, doing Chansey stuff. Thank you. Thank you. See, I do enjoy positive comments, but it's not my job to make space and make room for people who I find hateful. Just like if I go out in the world, if I see somebody with a MAGA hat, I'm not going to cozy up to them. I'm not going to walk up to them and try to change their mind. I do walk around. Well, when I drive, I have signs on my car. I have this, another one of these on my car. And I like it to be known that I am a safe space for these kind of people, but not for hateful people. You're streaming, come join. Well, I have to get going. It's almost 3 o'clock. and I was thinking about this stuff, and I wanted to share my thoughts and jump on another stream. And as I was saying, so I said the things that I wanted to say. I said the heart of what I wanted to say in this video. I got around to it. I said it. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining. Thank you for contributing, if you were contributing in a helpful way. And unfortunately, I did have to remove many people. However, that was to be expected. And maybe next time I do a live stream, I'll be able to set it up where, oh, here we go. That's how I can do it. Oh, wait, subscribers. I can do it like that. Let me see if that changes anything. Aha! I just changed it to subscribers only mode. So now, but I also made it that it was any amount of time that you're a subscriber. So if you want to subscribe, you can comment. So now I have a few minutes. Let's see, it's 2:51. I want to get off of here probably by 3 p.m. So, or if not sooner, because now that I put it to subscriber mode, it may, you know, I don't know if any of my subscribers were here. I did see one, Stephen, you were here, but I think you may have popped out. You may have left the live, which is fine because, oh, you're still here, Stephen. Hi. So, if anybody wants to ask any questions or share any comments that you'd like me to read before I end the stream that you think would be helpful to add to the discussion of why you, how you feel that it's not your place, it's not your job to make racists feel at home or cozy. And do I read tarot cards? Actually, I do not. I have them, but I don't read them. And I do read runes. My basket over here. I'm just using my I'm just using it to hold this up so you can see it. But I have my basket of runes. So I have these things, these little gifts that I showed last time. I'm going to give to. It's actually my nephew's birthday party today, and I have little gifts for my niece and my sister. But I have these runes that I made. I was reading runes, my own runes, for many years, and I was very, very into it. And I made my own. I made several sets of my own. Can I make a video showing how they work? I mean, maybe. Something I got into when I was 18, and I did it for many years, and occasionally I still do. That's probably very loud. Occasionally I still do read my own runes, but the thing that I actually, what I'm really interested in doing is, so low junk slogans. There are 59 low junk slogans, which is it's a mind training. It's a Buddhist mind training from Atisha. It's centuries old, and it's a way of training your mind, learning how to deal with, your emotional and mental well-being, your physical well-being, and all the things in your life. And it's a mind training. I mean, it's actually meant to teach Buddhist theories. You don't have to do Buddha. That's the wonderful thing about Buddhism, is that it's not a religion, not in the sense that there's no conversion, there's no trying to force. That's what I was saying about being vegan. My chair is very sounding. As a vegan, as a Buddhist, it's not my task. It's not my path where I'm trying to convert people. I'm not a converter. I'm not somebody who's out here whose mission, like I'm not on a mission to change other people. I'm too busy focused on living my own life for my own well-being and my children's well-being. Like I'm not here to try to change. I have been a insight coach, and if you want to pay me for my insight, I could work with you. Again, even as an insight coach, I don't work with people from a perspective of, well, I know what's best for you and what I think you should do. My advice is that you should do what I think you should do. That's not how I work. How I work with insight, with my insight coach clients, I listen to what they have going on. I listen to what they think their blockages are, or whatever it is they want to discuss, and then I share my insight based on what I've heard them say and what's coming through for me. It's not about do what I say, do what I think is right, you should believe what I believe. No, it's because I poured red salsa on the nail salon Buddha after they did my nails. Okay, I don't see what that has to do with Buddhism. So I guess you're just being unserious. So, yeah, that is okay. I mean, I'm not, I am trying to make this stream as well as other streams, like I will engage with you if you're being interesting and or helpful. But if you're just saying silly or ridiculous or distracting stuff, or you're not really contributing to the health of the stream or the conversation, then I'm just going to ignore it, because the purpose of this stream was to discuss why I do not make a safe space for people who are racist or all of the other things, and what is racism, what is systemic racism, why is saying that you're colorblind or you don't see color, why that is just another tenet of racism, and why whiteness is just a social construct. It's not a real thing. However, it is weaponized in the systemic racism, which is very real, and that people who are more melanated, they cannot just pretend that they don't see race, because every day they are bombarded with the system that is set up to harm them and to benefit those who are less melanated. So those are my thoughts. That's what I had to say. I thank you for being here. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for subscribing, for commenting. Please don't forget to subscribe, to like the video, share the video. And if you have anybody in your life who you think would benefit from understanding a little bit more about what systemic racism is, why whiteness isn't really the real thing, it's just a tool that was created to harm and keep down some people while elevating and benefiting others, and how it's been woven into the system when you try to get a job, when you're walking out on the street, when you're driving your car, when you're in the store. Every facet of life has been impacted by these systemic racist laws that have been put into place, these societal lies that are brainwashed people. I mean, I live in an area where now it's getting gentrified, but when I grew up in this neighborhood, it was almost exclusively a black neighborhood. And then there was like the rich, I mean, some of the houses in this area are mansions. And then, like, I live in a very diverse area, but I've seen how it's been gentrified. I've seen how other people have been pushed out. I've seen how just 5 minutes down the road, the redlining in that area has kept the school system bad, and the streets are not the same, the same condition And you can just tell that it's not about the people who live there, it's about the way that the area has been taken care of or on purpose neglected, and how that was written into the laws. Like, there were houses that they weren't even allowed to sell to people of color. There probably are still houses around where they still have those so-called rules, and are they listening to it? In some places they are. But anyway, that's what I had to share this afternoon. Thank you for being here. I will wait for like one more second to see if anybody else had anything useful or interesting to share. I have a lot of playlists you can join. You can join me on my, I have a website, catlovedreamingpeach.com. I'm on Patreon, catlovedreamingpeach.com. You can join me on this channel. I have TikTok, and I I really wasn't going live that often, but lately it's just been something I've been enjoying doing because I work so much during the week for my clients, and I have had very little time to pre-record and make edits to the videos like I was doing. Not that I won't continue to do that, I'm sure I will, but one of my clients, I'm going to be editing videos for her. At least I hope so. So that'll be cool and interesting, but it's also going to take up a lot of my time. So, I made the decision, the executive decision, that the majority of my time I'm going to be working for paid clients, and if and when this channel ever grows and it starts to be profitable, then I'll do more here. But again, like I said, if I was just here for clicks and likes, then I would not be deleting people that I feel are contributing to harm. I would, want this to be as open as it could possibly be. And I would want, I would make it open and welcome to all of those horrible racist people. It's sad to see how many racist people are on YouTube, and how much hate they allow and get away with. But that's why I changed the comments to subscribers only, and it made all of those hateful comments stop. So that was very beneficial and wonderful. So thank you for being here, and feel free to rewind and watch the replay. It's 87 minutes. Okay, bye.